Hey guys, this is Green Valor, and I'd like to talk to you guys about an article I came across. Because these feminists seem to be attacking a critical thinker instead of addressing his points in a proper manner. It starts out as the individual posting on a forum curious about what feminism actually is. And a lot of people have this question. And whenever they ask it, they tend to get flooded with comments from both sides, both pro and anti. The problem I have is that the anti side tends to be actually more accepting of the person's views, that they're actually curious and they're trying to see it in a positive manner, while the pro side is simply trying to convert them to the ideology, like a religion. The thing I find most interesting is that the pro side is actually doing more harm than good. They tend to come off as bigoted and one-sided. Not a good thing. When certain ideas are challenged, they simply say, "You don't understand." Well, explain it to me then. Seriously, if it's an equal rights movement, why are you pushing for the elimination of due process? And yes, you do have to justify it because that is the message you're giving off, and feminism is a politically motivated ideology with roots in Marxism and social extremism, sometimes even communism. Alright, so I'm going to show the article and say, what are you saying? Okay, so I've been trying to understand this new, great movement of feminism, but I have some questions about the whole thing. Here it goes. So feminism is not only about equal rights anymore. As far as I understand, it's also an anti-violence, pro-LGBT, pro-education movement. These are all really important topics, and the more people fighting for these things, the better. But how does this fit under the feminism label? Isn't that just human rights? How is those things related to gender? Good fucking question. So I guess my question is, what's the exact difference between feminism and the human rights movement? I hope somebody will bother answering me. Now there's a few grammatical errors, and I think I just slightly corrected those while I was going along, but you get the question, and it's a pretty damn good one, because this is objectively what everyone's problem is. We don't understand why feminism seems so abstract, why there's so many different views in it, and why it's gone this route, why it's so detracted, because it's true, these are all just human rights. These are things that egalitarianism and the human rights movement is pushed for. So why is feminism saying we're for this, we're taking credit for this? What's going on there? Alright, so the first response goes, one problem with feminism is that it doesn't mean anything specific. There are broad statements about what feminism means that are definitive in the way a Rorschach test is definitive. In my opinion, there are some issues where people who identify themselves as feminists take stances that contradict what would be a typical civil rights position. One example, when college students are accused of rape, many feminists oppose granting due process for the rights of the accused. And we see this all the time, which is why we're anti-feminist. And the next one goes, feminism in a nutshell. Half-naked males, fine. Half-naked females, it's sexist. Equality, more like political equality. It's got a bunch of downvotes, but to be honest, that's actually how it looks like from the outside, and it's pretty fucking stupid. So this person responds with, do you want to understand feminism or just complain about it? Implying that we're not trying to understand feminism, implying that we're just attacking it. And the response to that is, it seems to me that one can do both, which is true. Being critical of something is very important. That's how you come to an understanding. If you're just accepting something at face value, you're not going to learn about it at all. You're just going to accept it as the whole truth. Feminism is starting to sound. So here's a response to one of the other posts on here. Regarding your last paragraph, feminism is about equality, not injustice. So it is not a violation of the principle to support justice? Okay. Whether a male or female benefits, but then this is simply my interpretation. That's an interesting statement, because it would imply that feminism is pro-equality even if it means there is an injustice, which is pretty fucking dangerous. because those are notions of equity, not equality. Equality means we all have the same form of justice. Equity means justice is taken to ensure that everyone is equal. That isn't true equality, that is equity, and that is an injustice, and that is a problem in our legal system. So let's see where the response is from the other guy. Alright, so he states, that sounds like circular argument. Germlat, he's correct. If you state by definition that feminism is about equality, not injustice, then by definition everything associated with feminism becomes equal and just. But the world doesn't work that way. This is all true. My point is that in the real world, feminism is a self-identified trait. Feminism is defined by the people who call themselves feminists. True. Just like the people that identify as Catholics are Catholic. Understanding now, this sounds an awful lot like a religion. I've given you an example where a position taken by people commonly identified as feminists is in direct contradiction of a civil rights position. Would you care to discuss the loss of due process rights for college students accused of rape? Now, he's specifically referring to the men because women don't have this issue in college of being falsely accused of rape, where men do. And I've already covered in how India, this has become such a rampant problem that male students getting kicked out of college, they can't afford to go back, and they've got a literal man-hate campaign in India where they think they live in a rape culture, and it's quite the opposite. The women are screwing over the men. So this guy hits the nail on the head, though, when he makes this argument. He's just... It looks like he's objective in what he's stating. It looks like he's actually trying to understand feminism and understand that it's not a hate movement. It's not about promoting injustices against a certain demographic. But unfortunately, everyone else is proving that that's a futile effort, that it is actually an injustice. And this is shit. Their arguments are falling apart. Alright, get ready, guys. Attack the straw man argument. Would you care to discuss the cover-ups of rape on high school, college, and university campuses? Here we fucking go. And they link, straw man argument, cherry-picked. Yes, there's sexual assault on a specific college campus. This means there's sexism everywhere. There's rape everywhere. And then they go to continue to say, would you care to discuss the blame the victim phenomenon? No one's blaming you for getting raped. You just happen to get raped. Would you care to discuss the persecution, including death threats? Yo, everyone gets death threats. I got death threats in college. I got several death threats in college. People literally coming up to my face and threatening my life. Fuck off. It happens to everyone. That the rape victim in Steubenville cases suffered despite the fact there was a guilty verdict? No, I guess not. After all, they asked for it. You know what? This is pissing me the fuck off. I've been threatened before, alright? I've been assaulted before. It fucking happens. It's not a gendered issue. It just happens. It's unfortunate, but it happens. Alright, so check out this reply. Sure, I don't mind discussing it, calmly. There are two different issues here. Yes, rape should be addressed on campus. That doesn't mean that due process rights for people accused of rape should be thrown out, as they often are in the current climate. This is a true statement. Protecting the rights of the accused is a core civil rights issue. True. I have a question for you, fuckface. I'm calling him fuckface. I don't care, I'm not pronouncing all those letters stupid. I'm calling him fuckface. You reacted quite hostily to my point, including covering me with a trope that I didn't even suggest. Yes, the straw man. Do you react the same way for those of us who support due process rights to be given to those accused of other crimes, such as murder, such as theft? I'm just spitballing here. I'm happy to discuss anything you want. I strongly believe that upholding due process rights for people accused of crime is vitally important. This doesn't mean I don't support the rights of the rape victims. You see, this is oftentimes the argument they have. If you don't support feminism, if you don't support what we support, you're pro-rape. You're pro-fucking violence against women. That's not what we're stating. We're stating that everyone deserves equal rights. The idea that supporting civil rights for people accused of crime means you support crime is ridiculous and extreme. Agreed. This is one of the complaints I have about ideas that are commonly identified as feminists. This is the problem we have with feminism. This is why we call it a hate movement. And you fuckers don't understand why. And we keep explaining it to you and you still don't fucking understand why. Alright, so this is a response to another response. My question to the author was based on my experience here over the last 12 years in which people who bring up feminism actually have wanted to complain about it or to suggest that contemporary feminism is not actually dedicated to its apparent goals. I see nothing odd about the notion that feminists, if they are dedicated to the notion of equal rights and fair accommodation, would not support those ideals for all people and not just for otherwise categorized women. Alright, and now the response to that. What is the problem with this? Any ideology is going to have its supporters and its detractors. Swallowing any ideology without paying attention to valid criticisms or questions is narrow and at times dangerous, no matter what the ideology. This is correct. It's the same for religions, it's the same for any other political ideology. You should treat it the same. If someone wants to understand an ideology, they should consider the criticisms against it. There is no other way to get a complete view. This is true. You need to be objective. Before I came back into Catholicism, I left for a long time. I had a lot of criticism. I talked to a lot of priests about my criticisms, and they addressed them clearly. The problem I have with feminism is they will not address the criticism. They will tell you that you're just fucking attacking them, which isn't true. We're trying to understand why these criticisms are levied at them. There are valid criticisms of feminism. There are. One of these is that feminists don't seem to respond well to valid criticism. Like I just said, they really, really fucking hate criticism. So, back to the original spat with these two gentlemen. What is typical? I think the origin of the movement was about gaining equal advantage, not about abusing one's position. Yes, and now you have equal advantage. You have equal opportunity. That has nothing to do with this man's point at all. And the response to that was, my claim that ensuring due process rights for someone accused of a crime is a typical civil rights position. Are you really disputing this? Seems like he is. I will make the case for this if you really need me to, but it seems so obvious that it shouldn't be necessary. It shouldn't. And then he provides a link to an article I assume is just on the due process rights of an individual, but it was kind of a broken source. But I have to go ahead and assume it was just literally a definition for due process. And that is the last of the responses to the original post. Alright. So I'll be linking the source for that discussion in the description. But let's think, what did we learn from this? We learned that feminism is much closer to a religion than a simple view. We have learned that they are anti-due process. We have learned that they are extremely bigoted. We have learned that they hate valid criticism and facts. And we learned that they will strawman everything. I'm not lying though, this is actually one of the more civil discussions about feminism. I've seen some pretty wacky shit on the web. But this seems like objective people trying to understand what it is about feminism, and when faced with criticism, the feminists respond in a very hostile manner. But that wraps up this video. I am Green Valor, and you guys have a nice day.